they're
Yeah,
magnetic. It's like American
right.
Psycho. It's well,
Yeah.
that's
Or
why I
Ted
find
Bundy type people, you know.
yes. Well, that's why
Yeah.
I find it so interesting the difference between, say, Carol and Tom in The Talented Mr. Ripley. Like
Hmm.
they're very different,
Hmm.
constructions and identities. Like, did you see Saltburn?
Yeah, that was the one, the film that I compared this to
Mm.
because when I wrote this, I thought this would make a great film. But this was like 2012, and back then, it might have been a little too much. But after seeing Saltburn, I thought, oh, this would really fly. I mean, and you have Venice on top of it all because, it's a really exotic and erotic place, and it would make a beautiful film.
Yeah,
But
when
I
when
haven't
I
found
saw
anybody for it yet.
yeah, when I saw The Talented Mr. Ripley, because I have never seen the film before. I mean, first I loved Matt Damon and Gwyneth Paltrow, like the performances, but
Yeah.
it is I mean, it's such a troubling film, but also like how
Hmm.
someone steals someone's identity, and that to me is what made Saltburn so compelling.
Hmm.
And it seems like we have an appetite for this again. Like your book, Jenny Kidd, comes at such a ripe time. I mean, you said, right, it's a revised edition, but the psychological thriller is really understood now in culture. Like maybe
Hmm.
the way it wasn't in 2012. Like I think that's before Gone
Yeah,
Girl.
and that was pre-streaming when, we're constantly getting a fodder of these Harlan Coben, novels on film and, all of the BBC films. So yeah, it was a very different time. And I think The Talented Mr. Ripley, I just reread it again. I read it like twice way back, and I was amazed how fresh it was. It really was much better written than I had remembered because she's a little bit of a flat writer. Um, she doesn't give you as much backstory, or her vocabulary is a little quieter, a little more mundane than a really really good writer. But she knew what she was doing for what she wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
And, so in many ways, it may be egotistical to say this, but I think I'm a better writer than she is. But she knew how to do the entrapment thing really well.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is it's like almost how much do you feel compelled to enter into those tropes? Because I feel that there's just certain tropes that exist in the psychological thriller, like befriending someone who you think is a glamorous person, but they end up backstabbing you.
Hmm.
Um, like in Carol, there's the guy who's actually spying on them and
Hmm.
recording them, but presents himself as a business person. And it's like there's always like the mistaken identity, forged
Yeah,
identity.
yeah. Well,
Mm,
she loved that. Husband just adored that stuff. And, as I say, she's got a lot of duality in her personality that comes out. So, as I said, she could be the victimizer, which I think she was more of.
mm,
And I think she was rather abusive with her lovers, and loved to write a character like Tom Ripley because that made her feel good. And then she could also be the victim. She understood, I think, both emotions, and as a result, she got it. She knew how to put those two together. And I don't know. For me, I've written about monomaniacs or stalkers.
mhm,
Um, and that was a lot of fun. That was the psychologist shadow, but a therapist who acquires a stalker and doesn't know at first what's happening, and then slowly realizes it. And then, I've written about a book about a boy with dissociative identity disorder, multiple personality, Jack and I, and a whole bunch of murderers. And different kinds of people. So I think that that's something that fascinates me. I just like to know how they tick. How would they behave?
mm,
Because what I like to do, and there's a line, I don't know if I can find it, that Pat said, she really let her characters run. she would know sort of, what they're going to do, but not how they're going to do it.
Mm.
And she wanted to just see what they would do. And that's very much the way this book was written. I didn't quite know what the ending was going to be. I hadn't worked it out, but I knew where I was sort of going, but I let the characters have free reign. And as I got to know them better, like you would a friend, what they eat and drink, what they would wear, how they would physically move, then, I think you do a better job as a writer um, depicting that character. And so that's much her philosophy too.